Our next speaker is Tam Thi from Vietnam, who earned her bachelor's degree in natural resource management in 2019. She's currently working as an intern project assistant for the Conservation Leadership Program under the Marine Project of Fauna and Flora International, based in Vietnam. Her talk today is going to focus on her research on seahorse exploitation and trade in Con Dao Islands, Vietnam, as part of the FFI's Marine Project. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Let me share screen. I hope that you see my slides okay.
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Yeah, so hearing okay and slides okay. So hello everyone. Thank you very much for letting me participate in this interesting conference. I've learned a lot since the morning. So right now, my name is Tam Do, and I'm an intern of Conservation Leadership Program under the Fauna and Flora International Vietnam Program. And it's such my honor to be here presenting about my research on seahorse trade and exploitation in Con Dao, Vung Tau, Vietnam. The idea of this research is actually this is a part of FFI Marine Conservation Program, and we want to focus on seahorses, as you know that we've been talking about since the morning of data deficiency and a little concern about it, little charming species, and the number of research have been conducted in the world, but actually the public concern about this species is still limited, even though that these species have been listed in number of legal documents such as CITES and Decree 26 2019 of Vietnamese law and number of other documents mentioning about their conservation status. Part of that, the research on seahorses are beneficial because you know that this species can be an indicator, such a good indicator to assess the health of marine ecosystem, the resilience of the marine environment, and we can part of assess to the pressure of fishing activities to the ecosystem as a whole. So that's why we take seahorses as our part of concern, and we target to do our research in Con Dao. Well, if you see on the map, these islands are lying in South Vietnam and surrounding by a number of small islets, and these islands own a pristine ecosystem with incredible coral ecosystem, and that is is a beautiful environment for seahorse habitats. While other previous research conducted in Vietnam were mainly in the mainland coastlines, except the most recent one was in Phu Quoc Islands, and we wanted to take the concern on seahorses in Con Dao Islands, which is an incredible place to do research. And we set up 4 objectives for this research, which is the first is to identify some common trading seahorse species, and then we want to give an estimation of the quantity of seahorse in trading sector, and we want to determine the market chain and specify the role of each actor in the chain, and then after that we want to assess the respondents' awareness of seahorse conservation status. So how did we do? Well, the futures were the main activity that we initiated that 2 filters have been conducted since November 2020 and March 2021, which totally lasted for 15 days, which not much time, but we gained some valuable information. And we used semi-structured interviews and a set of questionnaires have been applying to earn information from respondents, depending on situation. So some form of information recording, such as paper-based notes, or we use smartphone notes based on the ArcGIS 1, 2, 3 app, or sometimes no notes were used to ensure the convenience and the fluency of the conversation. And snowball sampling was applied, which during the oncoming interview, we asked the respondents for some recommendations of potential or prospect applicants for the next interview, which were believed to earn more information, valuable information, and saved our time for the research. And totally, we earned 57 respondents distributed to 4 groups, which were fishers, traders, local people, and tourists. And we wanted to target different groups because we expect that they would bring different reflections of some sort of information, for example, price or trends of seahorse market, etc. And finally, all data will be inputted and exported to Excel for analysis. Because of small sample size, so we just mainly did the analysis through Excel table via some data descriptive statistics. So after the research that we have achieved a number of interesting results that right now I'm going to show you. Firstly, by respondents, we were reported that seahorses were recorded being caught by pair tours and single tours. And if you see the photos below in the left side is a pair tours, which was a 2 tours going together, and they have different mesh size. So the mesh size system is on the right picture. They have different size of the nets and target different species. So they can catch virtually like any species that the tours been through, including seahorses. However, we couldn't give an estimation of the average amount of seahorses that they're capable of catching, because according to them, it pretty much depends on fishing locations. So some locations they could earn more seahorses, but the other places were empty. And next, we took the photo from traders that we've been interviewed, of course, under their consent to take some photos. And by expert identification, so there are 3 common seahorse species have been identified in Con Dao market, which was very common: spiny seahorse, 3-dotted seahorses, and great seahorse. And we also asked the respondent to identify some familiar seahorses that they've been encountered by a illustration of 8 common seahorses in Southeast Asia, and their 2 species were popularly recognized by respondents. We estimate the mean price of retail dry seahorses, which is around over $800 per kilogram. And this number has big ranges. If you see an example on the table below, so all seahorses come from frozen state, and when it's getting to be classified and getting dried, So the price going double, even triple. And Vietnamese seahorses and Indonesian seahorses are the most common classifications that traders reported. But besides, depending on purposes, they can classify in different classifications, such as spiny with smooth, or type 1, type 2, or even type 3. And each classification has its own price. So price depends on different factors, such as species and size and state and color. With different color has different price, and also sex as well. For example, pregnant male seahorses are more valuable than female. And the most importantly, the fluctuation of the price is highly influenced by the quantity demand from the mainland and the China market. So the Con Dao markets that we have identified that constitute by the middlemen and the retailers. Why the middlemen are more sensitive group to provide some information of their quantity volume or the price. So retailers are more likely to open for data review. So we have estimated the mean volume of these retailer groups was about 4.21 kilogram per year, but this number still has error depending on the size of retailers. Some retailers own large quantity stock, while others just store quite limited amount. And if we do a little further estimation, the total volume for a year is around 160 kilogram per year. And if we merge into the seahorse individuals, around 48,000 individuals per year. This number actually doesn't sound really big, but if thinking about the sector, that the retailer is just like a small sector comparing to middlemen who own large quantity stock. And if you imagine that this market is just surrounding the Con Dao market, not mentioning the other islands or the whole Vietnam market. So I believe that we have more motivation to do further research on this market and seahorse market. Besides numbers, so right now I'm going to show the market chain. So I want to emphasize the role of local middlemen. So the local middlemen in Con Dao is divided into two subgroups, which is lower level middlemen and upper level middlemen. The upper level middlemen will dominate the large or the majority quantity of the quantity seahorses in Con Dao, and they have quite close circle of trading that they have. They get the seahorse sauce from fishers, and then they will transfer back to the mainland middlemen via their close connection or network. And then from the mainland middlemen with collection from the other islands or other small markets, and then go directly to China's market. But inside the Con Dao market, the main channel to provide seahorses to tourists come from local retailers or from lower level middlemen. Well, actually, sometimes the role of these two sectors can be crossed. Sometimes seafood stores, they can play as a middleman, or sometimes the lower level middleman can be a retailer to provide tourists. It pretty much depends on the cost opportunity and the market demand. And lastly, we approached the awareness of the interviewees about some legal documents or some awareness of seahorse conservation status. So regarding the legal legislations on seahorses, not many people were aware that seahorses are legally protected. But if we asking further questions for the other protected species, so a lot of them, interestingly, they were better aware that some protected species such as sea turtles or giant clams were protected and strictly protected in Con Dao. And responsible for their awareness thanks to the communication, very effective communication from the national park, that they have commitment or campaigns to the local residents for the protected species. But unfortunately, seahorses were absent in the communication scheme. But furthermore, if when we asked for the legal seahorse for the extent that how to what extent do they agree that seahorses should be legally protected? So not many people, but still considerable number agreed or strongly agreed that seahorses should be protected. Funny that it's quite interesting that some of them even give some recommendations of fishing activities season to fishers. For example, 6 month fishing of 6 months off, and that would be valuable for us to think about more suggestions for our research and for our marine project in the future. But still, we earned quite interesting results, and we think about the recommendations for the upcoming project on Con Dao and marine environment as a whole in Vietnam. We still encounter some sort of limitations during our survey, which seahorse trading is kind of like a sensitive topic that some people were aware that this kind of species is still under protection, and some small sample size with some limited time also constrained our achievement or expectation for the good results. However, I acknowledge that the FFI Vietnam program and conservation leadership program and our partners, which will supported us to implement the research. And may you have any further concern about this research or any questions regarding the results? So I'm happy to be here and answering the question. And you can contact me via the email as well. And thank you very much for listening.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We have time for a quick question if anyone would like to ask a question. I can't see anyone online. Anyone in person?
Any question here in the room? Okay, we have one question.
Hello, thank you for the presentation. I have one small question. Is about I see in your slide you see most of the seahorse from the Vietnam reach to the China, right? I just want to make sure what kind of information from where you get this kind of information, and how much percent do you think the seahorses were from the Vietnam to the China? Thanks.
Yeah, thank you very much for your question. Well, actually, we haven't gained the concrete statistics about how many percent that those seahorses were imported to China. But according to the number of middlemen that we have interviewed, so they have close connection to the mainland market, which is well, actually in the mainland Vietnam. And then they revealed that the mainland middlemen, they have connections directly to the China's middlemen. So I would say that it's kind of close, very close connections, close network. So from what we have interviewed the middlemen, so they just affirmed that the connections that they trading seahorses is from Con Dao, and then from the mainland, and the mainland has a network, direct networks to the China. So that's the way seahorses go. But the other middlemen, we haven't approached that many to give a conclusion, but we draw the market chain based on the knowledge of respondents that we've been asking for. So I hope that we haven't had a statistics or was critical statistics yet, but we have a picture of like what the market chain would be or how the seahorses go. We actually hope that for further research will approach the more like middlemen in the mainland and acquire for more information about how the market in the mainland will go.
Okay, thank you. I'm quite interested to this topic. I will connect with you by email later. Thank you.
Oh, sure, yeah.